Dr. Bob's new animation is about SCP-150. It's called the body-stealing parasite. There's so much wrong with that little statement right there. Parasites, first of all, when you think about it, it's like, oh my god, they feed on a host, right? And body stealing, well, I'm definitely interested to see what this is all about. Make sure to subscribe to Dr. Bob and me, guys, and let's get into this animation.
A man wakes up with a start. Did something just bite him? He looks down at his hand. Something definitely bit him. He can see the red welt already forming.
I hate that, dude.
He looks around for the culprit, but can't find it anywhere.
Like,
he really hopes
I've
he
had
doesn't
bad
have
bug bites before too.
That's the last thing he needs right
bed
now.
Bugs? I don't think
he'll have to keep his eyes open for potential pests. He doesn't want this to happen again.
Like a
since
wasp.
The spot is already starting to itch and feel uncomfortable.
Oh gosh.
A couple days pass though with no signs of other bugs. It must have just been a random insect that came inside his house to escape the winter cold. The spot on his hand felt a little rough for a day or two, but now he's pretty much forgotten all about it.
Okay.
Now what he really needs is some coffee.
Kind of like a
sitting
wasp
down
sting.
to another coding session.
Oh, coding.
The man is in his kitchen trying to make a fresh pot of coffee, but finds he's having a hard time. He's not so much making coffee as he is making a mess.
He
knocks his favorite mug onto the ground,
out of
breaking it, and decides that maybe he doesn't need coffee after all. A couple of nights later, as the man is watching TV, he starts to cough. Just a little at first, but then more and more. The coughing fits get longer and deeper too, like they are coming from the very bottom of his lungs.
Oh gosh.
He hopes he isn't coming down with something.
You're not concerned with your arm, buddy?
So how could he have? Can bugs transfer colds? He'll have to look it up later.
Oh my.
For now, he needs to do something about this cough. He won't be able to sleep if it keeps up.
God.
He needs to go get some medicine. The man gets bundled up and heads out. It's lightly snowing as he walks to the pharmacy, and he can't help but admire the way the moon hangs in the sky. A beautiful beacon of light on this dark winter evening.
He's starting to get some.
Inside the pharmacy, he finds the cold medicine section and picks out a cough suppressant. He takes it to the counter and decides to get a few candy bars too. He's developed a real sweet tooth these last few days.
I see.
The man starts to cough again. It's a good thing he's getting this
medicine.
Put
on your mask!
Several more days pass, and the man isn't feeling any better.
Right.
This cough just won't go away.
Oh my gosh,
He decides it's finally time to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
As he sits in the doctor's office waiting room,
you hide
he does
your little
his best
arm
to hold in his coughs, but he has a very hard time.
Sure.
The woman on the other side of the room is coughing too. Strangely, it actually makes him feel a little better. There must just be something going around.
No, I don't think so.
The nurse comes into the waiting room and calls his name.
She don't have a crazy arm.
The man is sitting on the bed in the examination room when the doctor enters. He's looking over his medical records and doesn't even look up from his clipboard.
He's gonna lose it when he sees that arm.
Shirt so that he can be examined, and the man obliges. Okay, let's see what the trouble is, the doctor says. He finally looks up at the man and screams.
Wow!
It didn't take long for the SCP Foundation to hear the reports of people's limbs metamorphosing into insectoid appendages, and they knew immediately what they were dealing with. This was another outbreak of the parasitic, limb-transforming insect known as SCP-150.
Just limb-transforming?
SCP-150 is an obligate parasite, meaning that it requires a host for the completion of its reproductive life cycle.
Bug on you.
It bears a visual appearance similar to that of Symathoa exigua, another parasite that eats the tongue of a particular type of fish before replacing the tongue with its own body. SCP-150 engages in similar behavior, though it appears to exclusively affect humans. When a human comes in contact with a small bug-like organism, it will embed itself under its new host's skin.
Like a chigger.
Over the course of roughly 7 days, SCP-150 will burrow deep into the host's flesh and begin to cause numerous physiological changes to them. First, and most prominently, SCP-150 will begin a gradual process of altering the limb that is nearest to the original infection site. As SCP-150 burrows deeper and consumes the flesh, it excretes a substance that has the effect of replacing the missing sections of the limb with a hard, chitinous material that resembles one of its own appendages. Beneath the chitin, the excreted substance forms a rudimentary nervous system that gives the host the ability to control the new limb as if it were their own. As it feeds, SCP-150 also secretes several chemicals that contain anesthetic, immunosuppressant, and transplant-rejecting properties that keep the host's body from responding to the changes, or even reacting at all.
Something else.
In fact, the host will often report that their new limb is completely normal and feels stronger and more resilient after the transformation.
It actually
SCP-150 will continue to feed for approximately 1 to 2 weeks, and as it feeds on the nutrients within its host's body, it will begin to reproduce, creating eggs that it deposits directly into the bloodstream. While the majority of these eggs will die off, enough usually survive to begin colonizing other parts of the host's body, where they will hatch and repeat the process of feeding, reproducing, and spreading more eggs.
Until
it is theorized that it is capable of reproducing on its own, meaning that a single instance of SCP-150 is all it takes to create a new colony.
That's scary, man.
Humans infected with SCP-150 will sometimes report slight discomfort and issues with their fine motor skills during this period, but will usually not express any knowledge of what might be causing this. Eventually, SCP-150 eggs will reach the host's lungs, where the process of assimilating continues, this time replacing the lungs themselves. During this process, more eggs will be produced, laid, and then spread out of the body by the host's coughing. As many as 10,000 eggs will be produced during this period, approximately 1% of which will survive being expelled, find another host, and implant themselves.
I see.
The assimilation process then spreads to the central nervous system, including the spinal cord and brain. But strangely, the host will show no signs that their consciousness or behavior have been affected in any way. In interviews with hosts of SCP-150, those who are unaware that they are infected have not expressed any knowledge of changes happening in or out of their body.
Can you
When
imagine?
Subjects are made aware that they have been infected, they will be able to point out the site of the original infection and agree that a change has taken place. But they seem to have no ill will towards their new chitinous appendages, and will often express positive feelings about it. In order to better study the effects of SCP-150 under SCP Foundation control, 2 D-Class personnel, D-13732 and D-016002, were both infected with the
D-Class, man.
The assimilation process was allowed to fully progress through all the stages. Following signs that D-016002 was experiencing swelling of the brain, a decompressive craniotomy was performed, a procedure in which a portion of the skull is removed in order to relieve pressure on the brain. This surgery had the added benefit of giving Foundation researchers the chance to look at SCP-150's progress firsthand. But after a flap of her skull was removed, the attending scientists did not find that her brain was swelling. They didn't find her brain at all, but instead observed numerous instances of SCP-150 in the cavity where her brain should be.
Gosh, dude.
The D-Class had been partially anesthetized to numb her skull but remained conscious during the procedure, and the scientists asked her several simple questions to which she was perfectly able to answer. They began removing some of the parasites, and as they did so, her answers became slower and less clear.
So they replaced
her brain. It appeared that the SCP-150 instances had not just eaten and replaced her brain, they had become her brain.
Too,
For the next experiment, they would use the instances of SCP-150 that had been removed from D-13732's nervous system after he had been euthanized following the discovery that his entire nervous system had also been replaced entirely by SCP-150. The parasites taken from his brain cavity were placed into D-016002's, and the results were nothing short of incredible.
What happened?
After observing a period of time where the organisms appeared to move and rearrange themselves within her skull, she regained consciousness. Once awake, not only did her cognitive functions immediately improve, when she was asked to state her name, she told them it was Michael, D-13732's name. It is unknown why SCP-150 engages in this peculiar life cycle, but the danger it poses to humans and the difficulty in keeping it contained has led the SCP Foundation to classify it as Keter. Some of the more erudite researchers have taken to calling the parasite the Ship of Theseus, a play on the philosophical notion that questions whether something that has had all of its parts replaced is still fundamentally the same, or if it has become something new.
Interesting.
Perhaps the observation of those infected with SCP-150 can shed some light on this millennia-old question. Infected patients who are being studied are to be kept in Level 3 biohazard containment cells, with never more than 1 infected host per cell. Cultures of SCP-150 adults and eggs are kept in vacuum-sealed glass flasks in the Site-42 Infectious Materials Lab. and the Foundation's standard pathogen handling procedures are required to be followed at all times.
Of course.
Should any instance of SCP-150 be found outside of containment, it is to
burn
be
it.
Immediately incinerated.
Kill it with fire!
Now go and watch another entry from...
Kill it with fire! I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I think the worst thing that I can possibly tell my wife is that I have started to become an insect and I don't know what to do about it. Not that you would tell her that. Your wife would have to say, sweetheart, there's something wrong with your, no, don't go there. Something wrong with your arm. Jeez. Dr. Bob, ladies and gentlemen, this one was really, really good. Make sure to go subscribe to him and check out these videos that I think you'll love. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.